Law Matters. Of course it does. Hi, I'm Debbie Moraes, your host and moderator. As we tell you, this program has been created to educate, inform, and help you with the law matters, help you decide how to protect yourself, your family, and your business with all things regarding the law. We provide information and resources that help you manage to handle some issues yourself, or you'll be better prepared to work with the professional counsel you select. Either way, and always, our goal is to help you save time, money, and to achieve the best possible results. As always, also, we want to welcome and thank Attorney David Bizarre from the Bizarre and Associates Law Firm in East Providence, and together we want to welcome our new guest, Attorney Nicholas Murray, who is recently licensed in Rhode Island, also licensed in Mass, and part of the Bizarre and Associates Law Firm.
Thank you.
He's the associate.
He's the associate.
We have others too, but...
Mainly me.
Yep.
So welcome. Today, our annual Thrive and Survival Guide. Every year we do a segment on the ho-ho holidays to hopefully help you be warned and protect yourself against the typical scams. Your best defense, of course, against schemes and scams and frauds and cons is to learn how to sniff them out as soon as you run into them. Each year there are new iterations and additions to this phishing schemes and the delivery package scams and so on and so forth. So interestingly enough, yes, because of COVID, there are more and more people who are shopping online, and Americans are expected to spend a staggering $189 billion, including online. And so all that money that's changing hands means cyber criminals are going to be targeting you at your home and also with the online retailers that you've come to trust. So we're going to review a few scenarios today that will hopefully help you be warned and help you deal with issues as they arise. So let's get going. We've talked about what phishing is. Do you want to give a quick definition of what that is and how that works?
Sure. So, and when we get into these things, we always talk about how I want to protect myself online when I'm going to do online shopping and so forth. But if you get emails that come to you and they're suspicious and you click on them and you start giving information back, even if it looks like it's a legitimate website or the email is from somebody you know or have even done business with before, you can start giving out information to people who aren't who you think they are. And I think it's phishing with a PH. So that it's not what it purports to be. And so the first piece of advice I would always give somebody who is a seasoned online shopper or a newbie is put in the website you're looking for yourself rather than clicking through an email you may have gotten, especially if it's one that you have never done business with before, aren't expecting, and haven't signed up for.
Often we say that they will connect you to a fraudulent website, and for as many times as we've been speaking about this in recent years, still the number is 41% of people who are still caught by this, and it's easy to be duped because people have become so good at replicating those sites. They actually do look like they are the very site. I mean, it happens with banks, it certainly is happening with retailers. So what are those telltale signs even before you go off-site to check it yourself? Sometimes some of the things are glaringly obvious that are problems when you see an email.
The email address, for example.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
I mean, sometimes even just a few characters within the email address are slightly off from the regular domain or email addresses that are formally used by that company. And a lot of these folks are so big, they don't really need to do a lot of poaching. They know how to be found. They don't have to seek you out.
Mm-hmm. Beware of the Miss and Mr. or whatever, that's one.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier something about if it comes from a particular retailer that you're familiar with and you think that you've done business with them before, so why not click? I've read recently there's even more value in not only clicking or typing in that new URL yourself, but also adding scams or reviews if it's a different kind of retailer that you thought you've heard of, but you might not have, because what might come up is a list of complaints, reviews, and scams that will help you avert getting sucked in.
As the scammers have gotten more prone to be able to find you and do things, there's also more ability to protect yourself by going online and looking for the reviews and finding out, are there scams out there I should know about, and educating yourself. Just like in the days now you order something and it's delivered and it's left on your porch and people come and steal those things, there's technology now that you can have to help with that too, in the form of those doorbells that have video cameras and that type of thing.
So let's go back to the scenario that you just described. So if you went to shop online at a reputable retailer and you bought the item will have a tracking number on it, which is a good thing. And as a result of that, you think that you're very secure because you have that tracking number. Meanwhile, apparently, because so many packages are being delivered now, there are scammers who apparently will put a number or a tag on your door that has not actually that tracking number, but a different tracking number, and people hope that you didn't check, and you will call that number and suddenly verify. They ask the questions phrased just the right way so that you will divulge what you bought, what your number is, your social security, your credit card number. But apparently people have become so ambitious as they're riding around and just putting those numbers as supposedly tracking devices on your doorstep.
And so the first thing I would always say is don't give out any information. If someone's asking you for information that they should already have, that should be your first clue that this isn't kosher. It's not something I should be giving out my information for. But people get excited. They might have something coming to them, and they want to know that it's going to get there, so they tend to give out information when they shouldn't. And that's what these people are hoping for.
Apparently, retailers have added what they think is an additional line of security if you decide to participate. So we can, for an additional charge, request that you have a signature. You have to pay a little more for it, but we won't deliver your package unless someone is there to sign for it. They charge you a little more for it, but perhaps if this ho-ho season is going as it is, with so many packages being delivered and so many scam artists, might be worthwhile the extra couple of dollars to make sure that you sign for every package and they don't just deliver it or put a sign on your door that says, oops, we missed the delivery, and that too be a scam.
I think that the few extra dollars, the little bit of extra effort to ensure that your package is getting where it's going to the people you sent it to, you know, it's insurance. It's worth a little bit of extra time, money, effort, just to protect yourself and your loved ones. And don't make it easy for people. And
with everything going on now, a lot of people are home, so they're able to receive those packages.
That's a good point.
So take advantage of the downside of what's going on by making it a positive.
True. Yeah.
What about, I guess as we've been reading, debit cards have always been a particularly easy portal for scammers. But if you, never mind, are buying a gift, suppose you happen to swipe a card at your local gas station. Apparently, that should seem like a very secure transaction, and yet it isn't. What do you do, what do either of you suggest doing when that swiping of a debit or even a credit card, apparently, at the ATM or the gas pump might actually have had some malicious code slipped in unbeknownst to you? How would you know to do that, and what could you possibly do, other than if it's a credit card, call your credit card company saying that was fraud? What else can you do?
I would say use the increase in technology just like any scammers do. You know, we have the ability on our phones to check our bank balance at any given moment. You know, use that ease of access to constantly check up on your purchases. And if there's a problem, call, like you said, the credit card company, the bank, whomever's responsible. You know, you take a proactive stance to protect yourself.
And I agree totally with that, but I also recommend using a credit card rather than a debit card for everything. Because, number one, the credit card, you can dispute a charge much easier than trying to get your own money back from a debit card where you've been scammed. And there's protection in using a credit card. So I would use a credit card wherever I can.
What is your thought about credit cards that are attached to the third-party payment, like Apple Pay or Apple Wallet, Google Wallet, Apple Pay, and PayPal? Is that more secure or the same as a credit card? What are your thoughts about that? Have you heard much fraud
I
in
don't
that line?
know a lot about that. Do you know much about
I
that?
don't know much about it, but I think that they're probably just as accessible to wrongdoers as anyone else, I would think.
What I do like about it is if you have it hooked up to your iPhone and you make a charge, your charge comes up when you do that. So I would assume if someone took your information and made a charge with that card connected to your phone, that that charge would come up too, so you would get a notice of it quicker to be able to dispute it. But I'm not sure if a scammer scams your information and makes a charge with your stuff that it still would come up. I would assume that it would. Because I do look at, I do have it connected, to be honest. And I look, oh, my daughter just got a new movie from Cox or Verizon, so I know that the charge went through.
Another interesting thing came up. So many people now are using their mobile device, tablet or phone, and they want to shop at a moment's notice. So they may actually not be home, although most people are these days, but there is increased concern about using only your Wi-Fi home network. In other words, not necessarily do you want to go to someone's coffee shop or an airport and hook into their Wi-Fi, which could have been tapped into or in some way compromised. But so many people on the run are willing to or likely to try to use that as the convenient way of shopping, and those networks might not be as secure as your home network.
Yeah, I assume that they're not. And even if you're logging in with some secured information to get in, doesn't mean that the information that's going back and forth is secured from anybody else who might be able to log into that Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Every year we talk about the interest in being charitable, especially this time of year. David often tells us, well, I have my list of favorite charities, and I usually work with that. But now, as people are on Facebook or as they're shopping, other pop-up ads come up, give now to this particular charity. I guess one that's popular this year is something that's called a Secret Sister Gift Exchange. If you just give us $10, you will be rewarded handsomely, as in about $360 worth of gifts after purchasing and mailing something for $10. It sounds like such a good idea. You're charitable. I'm sure you are too. It's only $10. Why not do that? What are your thoughts about why not to do that?
I think that being charitable is great, as long as you're making the decision to give to the charities that you personally deem, worthwhile and important to you. And I think that that's the approach to being charitable. You properly designate where you think deserves your time, your money, your resources, because there's, like you said, they're popping up on Facebook or everywhere. And even at grocery stores, your spare change goes there, sometimes without your knowledge. I think that we just have to make that choice.
Yeah, you're correct. And if you're giving to a charity that contacts you and that you don't know anything about, I would say I appreciate the call, and I will take your information, give me your information, and I will research you and get back to you. And if it's something that turns out to be legit and you're interested, fine. But do the research, just don't give the money.
I think that's a very good point. So many people are doing this instantly in the spirit of let's be nice. The other part of, never mind that $10 that you donated that you'll never see and you'll never get the $360 in return. The thought is, once you've given that $10 donation by your card, that also gave them access to those numbers, which is an even greater issue for someone to be concerned about.
That's right. And you're probably on a list, too. Call this person to your fellow scammers.
So many have offered alternative ways of payment. We've talked about debit cards and credit cards, Apple Pay, Google Wallet, PayPal, and the rest. Wouldn't it seem that if you saw something that you should pay just by giving gift cards, does that seem like a reasonable thing for anyone to do? You bought a gift for your daughter, and David, we don't just need your credit card. Why don't you just pay it in gift cards of $10 increments or whatever? Is that a glaring red flag? Is it not at this point?
I would think it would be, yeah. A gift card is meant as a gift. That's why it's a gift card, in my opinion. If you're going to purchase something, you purchase it outright. If you're going to give somebody the opportunity to go spend that on themselves somewhere, that's the purpose of a gift card. There's no third person transaction necessary, as far as I know.
I have a friend who is a businessman, very smart, and he got a call. We were actually having a little gathering of a group of friends, and he said, I got to go. Or he came actually from CVS before he got there, and he's like sort of white. What's the matter? I got a call from Narragansett Electric, National Grid now.
National Grid.
But National Grid. And they're going to turn off my electricity because they didn't get my last payment. And I have a pump in my basement. There was supposed to be rain of my business, and I was afraid that it would not go on because of they shut off the electricity. So I couldn't afford to have everything in the basement get ruined. So they said, well, you can pay it right now by gift cards. So I went to CVS to get the gift cards, and I'm getting all these gift cards, and the cashier said to me, that to pay your electric bill? And he said, yes. She said, that's a scam. So the nice young lady who was the cashier at CVS saved him nearly $1,000 in gift cards that were going to go to pay a scammer who made this very intelligent person believe he was paying the electric company because when you call back, let me put you on hold, and there's National Grid stories and music and whatever, and it was total scam.
So, David, what would you suggest that someone do to contact that company or to alert authorities? How would you suggest that someone do that? You know that it's a scam. What would you say?
So he did, and he let the state police or whatever know. They already knew about it. An alert had been sent out about it, and I'm sure they're investigating and doing what they can do to find the source of these things. But the people who get called, just including my friend, need to use common sense and say, well, as you said at the beginning of this, who ever asked to get paid by gift cards? That's not how people get paid.
And that should be one red flag.
Right away.
Right away. You don't even have to go Google the company. You know that that's trouble.
You don't even have to have the young cashier at CVS save your bacon.
That should be true. The FBI has been alerted to the rampant number of scams. They had issued their own warnings, one of which I think all three of us have to answer to this. Before shopping online, you should secure all of your financial accounts and make sure that you don't use the same password on various sites where you shop. Are you guilty? Who's guilty of using the same password? I don't need to know what it is, but do you use all different ones? Are you vigilant?
Obsessive about having a different password
You
for every
are.
single login I have.
That's great to hear. And then how do you remember them? You use one password or something like that, or
No, I have a physical list, and I update it, and I keep it secure, and then I sometimes I forget, but then you have to go through the process of renewing the password. I mean, it's important.
You are exemplary. I'm guilty. I do use them more than once. David, confession's good for the soul.
I have a notebook that has a lot of passwords for different things. Many of those passwords have to be reused. So I'm not going to say that I don't reuse one password from another, but I do try to make them a little different, but there's probably a lot that aren't.
So minimally, they say, for each financial account that you have, at least for each financial account, I'm sure we all have 17 to 18 financial different banks to work with anyway, each one of those at least should have a different one. And of course, their comment is, especially during this ho-ho holiday season, monitor your account as often as you can to make sure that there hasn't been a new charge that you didn't apply.
Absolutely.
Scams, holiday toys. So I'm not currently shopping online or elsewhere for lots of toys, but the hottest toys, which are, and I should know what these are, there's something Switcher, oh dear, what is it? Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 Pro, PlayStation 5, those hot toys are hard to come by. So not surprisingly, if you're a scammer, you say, I have it. That's number one. Well, good, I want it if you have it. Secondly, I can give it to you for less, just hit my website. What do you do? What's the first thing you do?
Not do it.
Not do it at all? Ignore it completely?
Yes,
Okay.
completely. Because there's so many ways to tell people, especially when it's something that people want, to draw them in. And I would be leery of somebody who's saying, oh yeah, I have lots and you can have them. Well, why do you have them? Why doesn't, I want to say Toys R Us have them, but I know there's
Or
no
some
Toys R Us.
toy store.
Or whoever sells Cabbage Patch dolls have them, or whatever the big toys of the day are. Those aren't them?
Not anymore.
Okay, all right. But the retailers that you would expect to have them, if they don't have them, why does this particular person on this particular website have them? I would be suspicious.
And even the stores or the Amazons that have a wide variety of products, they have their own products. They have products that other resellers have. Apparently, the latest scam is those resellers, not all of whom Amazon can check out, but some of those suppliers, third-party suppliers, are scammers themselves and have managed to wend their way or find their way into listings on Amazon or some other sort of shopping. How do you avoid that? Again, it looks like it's very safe because you found it under a reputable site. How do you know?
I would say that although these can be manufactured too, and again, I'm a little obsessive, granted, but when I purchase something online, Amazon, I check out reviews of these retailers. I read every possible thing I can and get as much research as I can before I make a purchase. It's not, reading a few reviews, you can usually get a sense, especially for when they're dated, about are these made up? Is this real people reviewing this product or this seller?
Sounds right. The FBI also said that, well, I suppose that everybody knows they can use BBB, the BetterBusinessBureau.org, if it's a company name that you wanted to check out. David had pointed out earlier that you can Google the name and then list, as you indicated, reviews or scams or fraud, and if there's a company name associated with it or a different website, you actually might find that online because there certainly is more of that than ever before. And even that's apparently true even if you find it on Facebook, which is the new way of being targeted, or as the ad business refers to it, retargeted. You shopped for something, you didn't buy it, you left it in a cart, someone's monitoring the keyword that you were searching for, and suddenly you are served in your Facebook social media page a slew of companies that offer that kind of product, maybe for less, which points to, and you're going to get a discount, or no, you're not, or you're going to pay and you're not going to get the gift.
Yeah, you see that all the time when you're on one website and you're looking for something, you don't do it, and then a day or two later, you're doing something totally different, and all of a sudden, oh look, there's an ad for fire pits. Do you want to buy a fire pit? I didn't. I looked, but I didn't buy it.
I have to tell you, that is legitimate. Retargeting is a certain form of advertising, and it is considered legitimate. The companies who do it is what you actually have to worry about. So if you bought something from a company that's not the reputable retail store that you're familiar doing business with, and you receive it, but you receive the gift or the item, but it's not really the item that you want. Actually, it's as phony as can be. What recourse do you have?
I would reply first to the kind of the third party where you found the reseller, right? Whether it be Amazon, whomever it is, contact them to see if this is a recurring problem, if they've had any notification of this happening before to any other people. Because most likely the person you got it from is not going to be available for comment. So reach out to them, and as David pointed to earlier, you can reach out to your local authorities and let them know, if you're the victim or target of a scam, they may have had similar comments before from other people, and lead to an investigation.
You're not usually the first person who's ever been affected by something like this. Although I imagine a lot of people who have been don't want to say anything because they're embarrassed, and I understand that, but you should speak up to try to protect the next person.
as we point out the number of sales and the number of people who are ripped off or have been scammed, as David said, there are so many more who are shy or reticent to even admit that they've been taken. Apparently, if you receive something, even if it isn't the exact thing that you thought you ordered, if you can't get back in touch with that company because they pulled the plug on the website, there's no traceable way of returning the merchandise, is it true that you really have no recourse because, in fact, you did receive something in exchange for the money? Is that really true? You have no recourse?
Well, if you bought it by credit card, there
Yes.
might be a way of doing it that way, which is one of the reasons I say don't use a debit card, use a credit card.
And one other thing, not about shopping, but actually in the holiday season, usually it's retail companies that want to hire additional workers. Well, fewer perhaps this year because so many people are home and shopping online. But people who want additional money, make a little money on the side, they're being offered jobs, but they're not always legitimate. How can you spot if a job offering is not really a legitimate job offering?
Are you talking like at a retail store? Or
Or
online?
even if it's supposedly a retail store that's online. You're not actually going to the store to be interviewed or to check out the merchandise. It's all online, but the kinds of questions that are asked, well, can you work just for free for about a month or so or 2 weeks or whatever it is so that we can decide whether we can hire you? Is that a legitimate thing to do if you are approached online?
No, of course, no.
We need to train you, though, Nicholas.
I think that any employer is going to have to protect themselves, even in the rush and the madness of the holiday season. There's due diligence that needs to be done when you're being hired by anyone.
Yeah, and it's hard if you're not able to look at someone face to face and get to know them, and because I wouldn't give anyone information to get a job where I'm working online if I haven't met them. I mean, that to me is just another red flag. I just wouldn't do that.
So earlier you mentioned Googling the company. Would you do that as well before you even gave them your name, rank, serial number, and social security number?
Absolutely. No way I'm giving up my information just because they asked for it and said, I'll give you a job, maybe.
But there are legitimate jobs that can be done online. That's correct.
That's true.
But you have to Google and search those out as well.
Research it and know what you're getting into before you give up any information.
We certainly have covered from shopping online to jobs online and the use of credit cards. We hope that this has been helpful to you as you plan to celebrate your ho-ho holiday season, hopefully scam-free. We wish you happy holidays, and please continue to stay tuned to The Law Matters as we tell you it matters to you.